Your coaching took you around the world, most notably to Nairobi in Kenya.
You know, it's funny you talk about small circles. The guy I worked for with the draft, the NBA draft, when I was scouting, he said he fixed me up with Robbie Pierce on Skype and said, there's this guy, Robbie Pierce, he's from England, he's a good guy. He has a son that's running a basketball academy. You would be perfect for this job because you would set them straight and get them going. They need somebody like that. They can't pay you much. But it'll be a great experience. And so we started Skyping and we hit it off, and I said, okay, I'll take the job. You know, it was when you think about it, it was $10 a day.
Wow.
$70 a week, and you know, food. Then we had a woman that cooked and cleaned, and I had my own room, had my own mosquitoes, and it was first night there I got eaten alive, and they took me to some barbecue place where they offered me camel, they offered me goat, crocodile, buffalo. I said, do you have any chicken? I'll take chicken. And that was my first experience there, and I had to really start from scratch with these guys. But Robbie was there when I got there. He was visiting, and it was a good transition for me. But it was an eye opener, and just fell in love with the place.
No, you fell in love with it that much that when it came down to it, you actually stayed with your team as well. You were all under one roof. Not many coaches have been in that position. What was that like?
It was incredibly enlightening, you know, to have different cultures. Now, I'm a white guy, an American, from a very prosperous country. Here, staying with African players from Kenya, from the Congo, from South Sudan, guys that came from nothing, guys that were in refugee camps, that had no shoes on their feet, that had to beg for food, that walked for miles through the jungle, and they knew that one of them was going to get attacked by a lion every night. You know, they were going to get picked off, and you know, the stories were incredible. You know, it would blow you away. But it was. I tried to stay out of their way. You know, I didn't want them to know my business. I didn't want to know their business. But unfortunately, we did live together. There was a lot of us, and it was a lot of fun. I loved those guys, and I miss them, and we grew together. And they wanted to be good ball players, and a lot of them put a lot of time in and became much better than when I got there. And their dream is to go to the United States or to go somewhere and play in universities. And it was an incredible experience. You know, when you're a foreigner and when you're not of that color, everybody looks at you. You walk down the street, and they point at you. They say, "Look at the Mzungu," you know, that means white man. And I was like, you know, I would wave at them, you know, like, you know, and it was different. You know, it's really hard to understand from their perspective. But you were really a big outsider, and but I made a lot of friends there, and it got a little dangerous during my stay there, but we stuck together.
Now, obviously, that did challenge your coaching a lot. One of my favourite pieces about that time is a quote you said, where you came out and literally said, "I've had to relearn to coach, relearn to teach. As a coach, you have a slate with you, you have to wipe it clean and relearn the basics again." But you had fun doing it with those guys.
Yeah, and they were very coachable. Once I got them on the same page, you know, guys were showing up late, so I would discipline them, and they couldn't understand it. They said, "Coach, you know, we're not late. This is African time." I said, "Well, this is my time. If you want to be ball players, you want to play here, you have to, you know, go by my rules. And being on time is not being, you know, for 7 a.m. practice. You have to be there 6:45. And they all did. They would jog to practice, and I did how to reteach all the basics, the fundamentals, and how to catch the ball, how to step, how to pass, you know, how to shoot, everything, how to box out, and it was fun. Because these guys I was molding them, and it was very rewarding to see these guys grow as basketball players.
The team obviously did grow. It progressed really well. You took them to tournaments as well, and again, there was a fellow reporter that was out there with you at the time, and I was reading some of his papers, and he said it was like a safari sometimes, the trips to the games and back.
Yeah, we went from Nairobi to Mombasa, which is the coast, and it was about an 8-9 hour drive on the bus. And I'm just looking out the window, and I'm seeing giraffes and zebras and gazelles running from lions. I'm like, what is going on? Monkeys on the side of the road looking up, you know, for food, and I just, and it was nothing to my players, and they were laughing at me because I was like a little kid. I said, well, all right, you come to New York City and you see all the taxis and all the noise, and then you'll be wide-eyed too, you know. And but it was great. We traveled a little bit, but basically, you know, our first year we played outside, and you know, if it rained, you didn't play, and it rained a lot. And one time we couldn't even continue the game. You know why? We couldn't get goats off the court. The goats would not leave the court.
Well, I must say I've never had experienced that. I've had a few stubborn people, but never goats.
Yeah, you know, I've had a few referees that have been goats, but you know, but it was I couldn't believe it. Some of the things were like, oh my goodness, and there was nothing to them. It was nothing. But my team, we started, you know, about a month into my stay there. We'd be 2 hours before game time. We'd be at the park, ready to play. We'd have our uniforms ready. We'd be stretching. They looked like a team, and it was really, I was so proud of them because they allowed me to coach them, and you know, to see them progress. We wound up going to the playoffs and winning the championship in Nairobi. We were not liked because they had a white American coach. They had these South Sudanese and Congolese and Kenyans all mixed, playing against all these other Kenyans. So we were the rebels, and there was a couple of close games where when they were close, the crowds were all rooting for the other team. And I said, you know what? You guys deserve that. That's why everybody wants you to lose because you're so good. It was just great. I had 7-footers. I didn't know what to do with them. I had about 6 of them. You know, they couldn't find a good point guard. I had a 6'5" point guard that would, you know, I was trying to make him a point guard. He'd throw the ball away. He's used to playing center, so it was crazy. But we won the championship. Cut down the nets. In fact, I think I have a piece of the net with me. I know I do, but I'll find it. But we get bumped up to the next league, right? We get bumped up to the next league, and we go 14-0. And that's when I got the call from Cheshire, and I couldn't. It was getting, like I said, it was getting dangerous, and I decided to leave. I also coached the international school of Kenya.
Yeah, yeah, there was. That's a colourful history there amongst itself.
Yeah, I needed a job to supplement my pay. By the way, here's the net from Nairobi.
Wow.
Right here. That's my part. They would have never thought about cutting the nets down. I said, no, we've got to keep this as a momentum. But, you know, to make ends meet, I asked if I could coach in the American school and whatever. And so they gave me the girls' team, the 14 and 15-year-olds. And I coached them in the first part of the season. And that's when the Westgate Mall was attacked by terrorists. And one of my players was killed by the terrorists with her mom. And it was devastating. It was devastating to all of us. And it just made things really put into perspective, and my girls couldn't play for weeks. They just couldn't get on the court, and we had to move on in her memory, Noriana, and it was tough. And then I coached the boys, the varsity, and we went to the East African finals, and no one thought we would, and we just made an unbelievable run and lost in the championship, I think, to Tanzania or Ethiopia, one of those countries. But it was a great run, and it paid the bills. You know, it helped me get by a little bit. And but we moved up in the league, and after that, I was on my way to Cheshire.
Well, just quickly, there is a little story there from Africa that I
saw. A lot of stories.
I heard a little bird told me you got hit by a bike.
Yeah, you know, a lot of the transportations are things called matatus, which are 14-seat vans, little buses, which were getting bombed. You know, people were throwing grenades and bombs on them. But I took a big bus from the international school. I had to take 3 buses, and my last bus, I always got dropped off in front of this mall, which was around where I lived, the Thicker Road Mall. So I said, I asked the guy, can you drop me off right here in the front? He goes, no, we can't, the police are over there. He goes, but I'll let you off right here on the highway. So he lets me off, and I look both ways, and it was just about dusk. So it was gray out, and I look to the right, I look to the left, I don't see anything. I take 1 step, and boom. The next thing I know, I'm being woken up by a police officer on the highway, asking me if I was all right.
That's unreal, but I think your response was funnier.
I said to the police officer, Am I all right? Yeah, I always like taking a nap on the side of the highway with buses going over my head. You know, I mean, it was crazy. And then he goes, do you want compensation? Immediately they said, do you want compensation from this guy? And his bike was ruined, but I was banged up. I broke my thumb. I had a concussion. I was all cut up. And of course, Robbie Pierce, he goes, you're all right. Let's, we gotta go to the club tonight. You know? So I got better, and but it was crazy experience. It was crazy, and luckily the mall right there has a hospital above it, like a little makeshift hospital. So that's, but it made me think twice about stepping onto the highway, because they drive crazy over there.